Yeah, students, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the same page you can open,
Yes, ma'am.
and then you can keep writing the notes, keep notes and pen ready with you. And while listening to the lectures also, you have to do like this. Keep a pen and notebook ready, and then keep writing important points. Okay, whenever I was explaining, and you have to incorporate those points into your answers, which you will prepare for the final exams. So yesterday I have given you the introduction to the poem very in a very brief manner, referring to some of the important points of analysis. Okay, some points of analysis which we have to focus on while reading this text, The Rape of the Lock, which is a very representative text of the neoclassic period, and it's a very popular work of Alexander Pope also. It is actually considered as a sweet nothing. Actually, this poem is not on any serious theme, not a universal theme also, yet it became very popular during Pope's time, and even now also it is very popular. So throughout the centuries, it was attracting the um, attention of the readers, and there were many readers who became favorites, or what do you say, fanfare of Pope, because of his writing style, and how in simple things also he will try to explain serious things in a simple language, in simple sentences. And one more thing is heroic couplet. I have been telling you that epic poems are usually written in heroic couplet. A heroic couplet are iambic pentameter lines, which, of course, are rhymed always. See there, one of you can read the first two lines.
What dire offense
Mm.
amorous causes springs? What
Mm.
mighty conflicts rise from trivial things?
Yeah, see the last two words, springs, things. They are the rhyming words. So, throughout this poem, you will observe this couplet. So, writing in such a manner with end rhyme and iambic pentameter lines. I have told you what is iambic pentameter in during Milton's poem also. That is Paradise Lost. That means five stressed syllables, five unstressed syllables will be arranged in a particular manner. That is why they are called iambic pentameter lines. And with the rhyme scheme, the rhyme scheme of AA, okay, or BB or CC, like that. So throughout the poem, this rhyme will be continued. Two lines will be rhyming with each other. And one more thing, the neoclassic poem, actually, if you go after this class, you can read the previous pages where he has given the context of writing this poem. So, as I have already explained in the previous lecture, the context of writing this poem is actually a quarrel that took place between two neighbors of Pope, where one young man has cut the lock of hair of a beautiful girl in his neighborhood. So, because of that, the two families who were friends till then um, quarreled with each other, and they became enemies. So, one common friend to these families and Pope, that is Thomas Carlyle, suggests Pope that why don't you write a witty or humorous poem about this incident, by reading which they will come together again, laughing at their trivial issues of fighting with each other. Okay, so that is the aim of writing this poem. And Pope at first wrote only two cantos, and the families actually have read that and they got united. But later, the poem which is meant for private circles went into the public, and that became very popular. And this public attraction and the popularity brought another problem for Pope. That lady
Yes, ma'am.
for whom he wrote got angry with him. Okay, and that is why in the beginning part of this text, he writes an apology for that lady, Arabella Fermer, her name. Here she is shown in the poem as Belinda. Okay, so later he left that issue, and he was very much happy with the popularity that he received with the publication of the two cantos. So he changed, and he extended the poem and made it a poem of 5 cantos and published it. Okay, adding some more fictitious elements and all. So that is how the popularity came, and he begins in the canto 1. What dire offense from amorous causes springs? What do you mean by amorous? Amorous means love, lovely. So out of love also, some kind of serious offense was, offense sprang out, came out. What is this serious offense that came out of love? We will see while proceeding into the poem. And then what mighty contests rise from trivial things. So at sometimes even small things, trivial means small things, lead to mighty contests, great quarrels or big quarrels. So how the small things, trivial things, insignificant things led to a great quarrel of say two families or two groups, etc. We will see in the poem. I think some of you have kept your speaker on. Please mute it. Otherwise, we'll get disturbance. Then I sing this verse to Carol Muse is due. This even Belinda may outsave to view. So here we see, as we have seen in the Milton's Paradise Lost, it is the invocation. So he is saying, he is praying the muse, and he also saying that I am writing this verse because of Carroll, Thomas Carroll, who is the friend of Alexander Pope. It is due to him. And of course, muse. He is saying not only Carroll, but Belinda, the lady, to whom he intended to write. That is Arabella Fermer will also see this poem out safe to view. She will also listen or read this poem. That is what he is saying here. Then continue. Let us continue. Actually, Belinda, the name that is taken by Pope, is actually a fashionable name of the time. Time means at his time. So, though it is a fashionable name, and we can also see how Pope describes the fashion of the lady and what is her manners, etc. We will see. Slight is the subject, but not so the praise. If she inspire and he approve my lays. So he says, whatever subject that I have taken, it is a very slight subject, in the sense, a very insignificant, small subject. This is in contradiction to Milton's Paradise Lost. See, Milton's Paradise Lost covers a vast subject. See, Rape of the Lock is called as a mock epic poem. That is why I am giving you all the way to contradict this epic and mock epic. So epic deals with universal themes. But here, because this is a mock epic, Pope is telling us that it is a small subject, but not so the praise. The subject is small, but the popularity received by the text is not at all small. Pope got much popularity, and if she inspire and he approve my lays. And also, besides the popularity, though the subject is small, okay, uh, it will have a good effect on the people to whom it was intended, or keeping in view those some people he wrote the poem. So if those people could read the poem, it will be a great praise. If she inspire and he approve my lays. So if this poem is able to inspire that lady, okay, that is Belinda or Arabella Fermer, and he also will approve my lays means my poem, it will be a great praise for this small poem. And then he says, say what strange motive, goddess, could compel. See, reading this line, you have to recollect, say, muse, what is the reason behind the Milton says, no, what tempted the grandparents to eat the fruit of knowledge. That is how Milton asks the muse. Here, in a similar manner, Pope is also asking the muse. Muse is the goddess of poetry, as you all know by this time. So, Pope is praying to the goddess, say, asking what strange motive, goddess, could compel a well bred lord to assault a gentle belly. See, a well bred lord means what? A well educated gentleman. Okay? A well educated gentleman. What influenced him to assault a gentle lady? Belly is lady. Okay? So he is asking the goddess, what motives influenced this young man who is well educated, well brought up, perhaps? What influenced him to attack? To assault means to attack here. The attack, as I have told you in the real life, is nothing but cutting the lock of hair. But that is actually considered a question of, prestige, and it is shameful for the lady because when someone cuts the hair of ladies. Okay, so it is viewed very seriously. But whether the act can be viewed seriously or not, he is trying to ask goddess what is the motivation behind this lord to cut the hair, that means to attack the gentle belly, a very gentle lady. Oh, say what stranger cause yet unexplored could make a gentle belly reject a lord? And not that, perhaps this is a love affair, and the lord loved the lady, and this lord is a well bred lord only. And what is the strange cause which can never be uh, explored could make a gentle belly reject a lord? So this beautiful lady, gentle lady, why did she reject the lord? What is the stranger cause? See, very wittily he asking. Naturally, it is taken for granted that beautiful ladies will always accept the well-bred, well-educated lords. But it is very strange that here this gentle lady did not accept the love of the well-bred lord. So very wittily he is saying, what stranger cause yet unexplored? Some, even if we try to guess also, we may not be able to guess. unexplored. In take so bold, can little men engage? In task so bold. So he says, little men, you know, like this Lord, so bold acts they engage themselves. This, what is this bold act? The bold act is nothing but cutting the hair of this lady. And he says, this gentleman, of course, will try to take or plunge into some brave acts like this act which was committed upon this beautiful lady or gentle lady. And in soft bosoms dwells much mighty race. And he's wondering, so, in the soft bosoms, women are naturally considered to be very soft at heart. Bosom is heart, okay? And dwells such mighty rage. So, with a wonder, he says, okay, these women who look very soft and who are believed to be having soft bosoms, soft hearts, etc., they can nurture this much. Race means anger. Wells means what? Actually to reside. Reside means we put something at one place, and if we go and settle at one place, we are dwelling there. So in our heart, we let dwell many kinds of feelings, emotions, etc. And naturally, it is the general opinion that women will not nurture negative emotions or too much of anger, etc. Okay, mighty rays. Okay, that is the quality of what you call kings or emperors or men, actually. So here he's saying, what in soft bosoms dwells, and in soft bosoms dwells such mighty rage. So very surprised to see that this young gentle lady, gentle is itself an indication that she is very smooth. Okay, means not so what you call hard tempered, okay, or harsh mannered, etc. So such gentle ladies also will nurture this kind of anger, too much of anger in their hearts. Soul through white curtains shot a timorous ray. So this is how he says how this lady is nurturing the mighty rays. So this is actually what you call as the proposition and invocation of the poem. So as we have seen in Milton's Paradise Lost, how Milton invocated the muse, and also how he in a way declared what is the theme of his poem. So the poem theme is very much declared in the very beginning lines. Similar manner, Pope also did because this is a mock epic. So mocking at the conventions of the epic. So because he is making a small subject, an insignificant subject as the subject of a mock epic. Okay, like because he is making a parody of epic. So instead of the universal theme, it is a very insignificant local theme. And that too, the quarrel between one young man and a gentle lady. So why this gentle lady rejected the Lord, and why this Lord exalted that lady, and gentleman, he is also a gentleman, and do gentleman, of course, adventure to do such rough kind of things, okay, or some kind of uh, what do you say, the things which lack dignity, etc. Okay, spoiling his manners, behavior, and he also is asking, so the lady who seemed to be very gentle, could nurture that kind of mighty race, much anger in her bosom. Is it true? So this, until this line, it is the preposition as well as invocation. Um, all of you, how many of you are able to follow these lines? Some of you can respond. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm.
Yes, ma'am.
Are the lines clear till now?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts in the previous lines? Shall we proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So after that, this is the chamber of this lady Belinda. Soul through white curtains shot a timorous ray. The soul is sun. Through white curtains, curtains, the windows have curtains, and through those curtains, the sun's rays are falling into the room and opened those eyes that must eclipse the day. When sun rays have fallen on her, that lady has opened her eyes. And what type of eyes are they? They are very bright eyes that will eclipse the brightness of the day also. Like the language of epic is completely with metaphors, similes, etc., metaphorical. And here the bright eyes are compared to the bright day. And it hyperbolically, he says that the brightness of the eyes of this lady are eclipsing the brightness of the day also. So she opened such kind of bright eyes when the sun rays fall on her face. Now you have to imagine one thing, that is not a sunny country where you get sun rays in the early morning. To have sun rays in your places or in your rooms, it becomes almost the noon. Okay. So gentle ladies sleep till it is noon. Very ironical or satirical. You have to, while going through the lines, you have to notice the irony, wit, humor, satire of Pope, of the poet. Okay. Now, lapdogs give themselves the rousing shake. Now, the ladies and the lapdogs sleep together. So, when the lady opens the eyes and when the sun rays fall on the bed, the lapdogs also give rousing shake. You know how dogs, when they wake up, just shake their body. So, don't think that having lapdogs is the fashion of our day. It is there during Pope's time itself. That is to the closure of, say, no, this is published in the early years of 18th century. So during that time itself, having lap dogs is a fashion for the ladies. Okay. For the society ladies, they say, or high class ladies, etc. So now lap dogs also, Belinda is having a lap dog, and lap dog also has awakened, with her. And sleepless lovers just at 12 awake. Underline this line because you can't underline in your soft copy. If you have that facility, it is okay. But if you don't have, try to write down this line, because this reflects the satire and irony of Pope. Of course, all the lines reveal that, but very indirectly. But in this line, it is very direct. And sleepless lovers just at 12 awake. So why lovers, of course, spend together with till late nights, spending their time in parties or being with one another, etc. And are pining for each other. They may not be able to sleep during nights. So that is why he is saying sleepless lovers just at 12 awake. See the irony, that the satire, the whole satire is included in the word just at 12 awake. Thrice rung the bell, the slipper knocked the ground. And it is like the high class ladies' habit. Immediately after they woke up, okay, or they wake up, they will ring a bell which is there on their side, on the side of their bed. It is the bell for the maid or the servant maid. So thrice she rang the bell. No response, then they will struck the slippers, the ground. That is the way how they call their maids. See, there, of course, whether how value is given to maids, etc., that is a different thing. Let's not go into that discussion, but that is how the one section of the people are treated, or it is a very much a clear-cut example of the exploitation also. But this is how the lady calls her maid, and the pressed watch returned a silver sound. And at the same time, she pressed a watch that also returned a silver sound. Belinda still her downy pillow pressed. Her guardian self prolonged the balmy rest. Even at 12, she did not wake up completely. She just changed her pose of sleeping. Okay, when the rays of the sun have fallen on her eyes, she just turned aside, okay, and then putting her the pillow, been and the pillow, putting her face on the pillow, or turning to the side where sun is not focusing the rays. She is just feeling drowsy, okay, and it seems this lady is being guarded by sylphs. I hope you know what is a sylph. They are considered to be the supernatural elements, or above human. They are above human, and it is a story that prevails that chaste ladies or virgins, or virgins means women who are not yet married, and women who are not having any lovers, or who are not having any thoughts of boyfriends, etc. Really, it is believed that they will be guarded by sylphs, the supernatural elements. So when Belinda, of course, turned towards the other side and taking a pillow under her bosom, she is again feeling drowsy, closing her eyes. At that time, the sylph is the guardian. She is prolonging the balmy rest. So she is prolonging her rest, as if someone is, someone is singing a lullaby, or stroking you to sleep gently, etc. So the sylph, it is believed, and Belinda, being such a beautiful young lady, virgin, is believed that is being safeguarded by sylphs. It was he had summoned to her silent bed the morning dream that hovered over her head. So, Belinda is having a dream, and Sylph is looking that her dream should not be disturbed, and her sleep should not be disturbed. Okay, so she is dreaming a youth more glittering than a birthnight view. That means a gentleman or like a knight. Okay. Uh, See, under these lines, you have much notes in this text. You can read to know some of the social conditions or how women used to spend their lives, etc. Okay, all those some important clues you may get besides the explanation I am giving. Okay, so when she got some a gallant or a handsome man in his dreams, a slight glow in her cheek came, that even in slumber caused her cheek to glow, though she is sleeping. Sleeping, not complete sleep, just slumbering in the bed. That is how lazily, sometimes, even though we are wake up in the morning times, you just slumber in the bed. Okay. Like spending some more time in the bed, it is called as slumber. And even in that slumber, the thought of a young man in her dream caused her cheek to glow, seemed to her ear his winning lips to lay, and thus in whispers said, or seemed to say. No, she is dreaming of a young man, a handsome young man, and that is bringing a kind of glow in her face. And when she was having this dream, it seems that someone is telling or whispering in her ear something. So, what is that? Fairest of mortals, thou distinguished care of thousand bright inhabitants of air. So, the sylph is the one who is telling this. So, she is considering Belinda as the fairest of mortals. So, a beautiful woman among all women. That is what the fairest of mortals. Thou distinguished care of thousand bright inhabitants of air. So, this is the belief which I have referred already. Thousand bright inhabitants of air. So, it is to make us believe that we are always guarded by some supernatural elements. So naturally, people who believe in religion, if it is Christians, they believe that angels will be always safeguarding us. And in not only in Christianity, but in some other religions also, it might be there. So if you believe in God, you think that God will, of course, will safeguard you. So here, this sylph is narrating to the lady that you are the beautiful woman, and because of your beauty, your fairness, thousands of inhabitants of air take care of you, guarding you. The inhabitants of air are nothing but sylphs because they are in the air only, maybe flying over us, okay, surrounding us, but we don't know because they are invisible. Okay, but these invisible creatures are actually safeguarding this fair lady. If ever one vision touched thy infant thought, of all the nurse and all the priest have taught, of fairy elves by moonlight shadows seen, the silver token and the circled green, are virgins visited by angels' powers, with golden crowns and wreaths of heavenly flowers. Hear and believe. See, the sylph is inculcating a kind of belief in the heart of Belinda. If you believe in your childhood stories, Some of you can tell me. There is one show in TV where you have so many ladies coming and dancing in the moonlight, and during the night when they dance and they leave, they will leave a circle, and someone who is believing in God or good can notice that. Any one of you remember that show? Usually, previously, I think it was there in TVs. Animated show only. Any one of you, Hepzibah or Raji? Girls, are you here?
Ma'am, is it Barbie, ma'am?
Barbie. Yeah, like that only. It's like many Barbie dolls, like beautiful ladies dancing in a circle in the moonlight night. Okay, Barbie or something else. I don't remember the show. You can actually Google for the show, and it is the same story here. So this actually the story runs, and if you remember in Milton's Paradise Lost also we have such a kind of example. Okay, the farmer.
Fairy tale, madam.
Huh?
Fairy tale.
Fairy tales only. Sylphs are like fairies only. Fairy tales only. You have in this kind of story we have seen in Milton's Paradise Lost also. Because there are fairies who change their shape, okay, size, etc. To the closure of the book one, we have such a kind of example. The same thing here we are given. So it is believed, the belief is there in the society that fairies or sylphs actually come down and they elves, fairies, sylphs, these are all synonymous, okay, words only, like some above human um, beings, below gods or angels, this kind, they of course lie in between, having more powers than us and not so powerful as powerful god or angels, like that. So this story is in circulation, and naturally all girls will um, grow up in their childhood listening to such stories from their grandmas, or say even in churches also, or mothers, etc. So the sylph is telling the same story to Belinda and saying, if you believe. So say what she's saying, that virgin visited by angels' powers. Actually, this line we can take as a reference to Mary, Virgin Mary being visited by angel, and who confesses that she will give birth to a baby boy who is none other than Jesus Christ. So, how virgins are visited by angels, angel powers, and how these elves come down to the earth and then they dance, and it is believed that they leave a silver token and the circled green. So, the green where they dance, the green meadows where they dance will have a circle, and they will have it's believed that they will leave a silver token, and whoever gets this will be fortunate ones, etc. These stories prevail in the society, and the sylph is telling to Belinda, so vision touched thy infant thought. If ever one vision touched thy infant thought. So from childhood itself, of all the nurses and all the priests have taught. Why nurses? See here, the Western practice is mothers will never bring up their children. They are entrusted to nurses. This is the high class what you call characteristic. And even in our society nowadays, we see that nurses only will take care of the babies. They will give bath, they'll get them ready, okay, etc. Not in all classes. That means the Nova rich people may do that practice. In other classes, most of the times it is mothers only who take care. But here it is the poem of, say, princely, courtly people, noblemen, landlords, etc. So this that is why here he says, of all the nurses, not mothers, and all the priests have taught. So priests, of course, will keep on preaching us about the divine elements, supernatural elements, etc. If you have any such story in your mind, and if you believe, okay, um, this Sylph is saying that hear and believe. So if you have such experiences in your childhood, please believe my words also. So the Sylph is asking Belinda to believe its words, and saying that you are our burden. You are being guarded by thousands of bright inhabitants of air, and you have to believe this. If you have believed the stories of elves and virgins being visited by angels, you have to believe the fact that you are being guarded by the bright inhabitants of the air also. So this is, with this I will close. If you have any doubts, you can interact now. I think 34 or so we have stopped, 35. We'll continue the next class. So could you follow till all these lines?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What about you others? Don't you have any doubts at any place? No. So, okay. Let us close the class today. Take care of yourself and try to continue your preparation and keep listening to the lectures and inform all others also. Okay. Okay. I'm closing the class. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Okay.
you, ma'am.
Bye.